So who doesn't love a good oil stock? Well, Greta Thunderbird doesn't like oil stocks.
How dare you?
Well, me? I'm quite partial to a bit of oil from time to time, and here's my STI on BP. So one of my favorite tickers in the world, BP. In fact, the first ever stock I ever bought at the ripe old age of 18 was in fact British Petroleum. And I made a massive negative £1,200 on it. Yeah, didn't know what I was doing, quite frankly, got humbled. But that started the journey for me, and everybody does get humbled from time to time, but it set me up on the path where I am right now. But that said, BP, is it a good stock to buy or sell right now? Should you short it? Oil companies are just polluting the earth and we should sell everything. Short oil stocks and buy Tesla and NIO and any other battery company. No, we shouldn't. BP is actually a potentially good buy right now, and I'll tell you why. Right after you've helped feed a baby by hitting that like button until it turns blue, subscribed and turned on the bell. Thank you for your cooperation. So British Petroleum is one of the longest blue chip oil companies on planet Earth, and for sure one of my favorite stocks of all time. Now, I just told you a little story where I lost money on BP in the past. It's true, but trust me, I've made a hell of a lot more of it in the long term. Partly through their good dividend payments, but partly through bounces in oil, etc, etc. Now, the oil market itself is a crazy, crazy beast. We actually had negative oil prices this year. And right now, oil is sort of bottoming out and COVID is killing it, and oil companies are really struggling. So please do bear that in mind when I'm talking about the positive points of BP. And in full transparency, I currently do hold some shares and I'm slightly down on them. Not much, because I have been averaging in slowly and I will continue to do so. So I just want to be fully transparent and let you know that these are my reasons why I am in BP, but I might be giving it from a biased perspective, so bear that in mind throughout this video. Because it's not financial advice, it's entertainment, apparently. Now BP, the oil giant, has a market cap of roughly 50 billion, which is quite big given the current standards, given the stock is pretty much on its arse. Let's say on its arse rather than ass, because we're British Petroleum. And there's a lot of speculation that oil is done, it's finished. All of these oil companies, they only make money on cars, and cars are going the EV route, and the world has stopped moving. And no, it's not. I have said numerous times in chat and numerous times on previous videos that these oil companies, your BPs, your Exxons, etc., there's not just cars. Yes, that is a big part of their manufacturing process, petroleum and selling and stuff like that. But everything that's made from plastic is from oil. There is a lot more oil sectors than people give credit for. So oil is actually a big process. But more importantly, some of oil companies, in fact, quite a lot of them, especially the bigger boys, have been looking at renewable energy longer than Tesla's been around. So just because you think BP goes to drill a hole in the North Sea, pulls out oil, throws it at Greta Thunderbird's face and says, thanks for the dollars, that's not the case. They're also making plastic bottles, which Greta's also pissed off about. They are also building renewable solar farms, wind farms, and also helping create recyclable technologies where you can actually potentially recycle plastics that were unable to be recycled in the past. That was quite hard to say and phrase, so hopefully it came across okay. Now, before we get on to BP's sort of structure in the future, I just want to say that BP has had a big change fundamentally, because they have recently replaced their head guy, and he is a new guy called Bernard, or Bernie as we call him. I hit him up on text last night just to see how he was. He hasn't replied, unfortunately. But they have a full restructuring in play, which comes into play 2021 January. Because of this new business change and sort of focus. And we can go through that now. Now, this comes into three parts. Now, the first one is finding and generating energy. Now, this is also oil exploration, gas exploration, but it also is developing and extracting oil and gases, but also one of the big things that people are sort of overlooking is generating renewables, biofuels, biopetrols, solar and wind. So if you've seen a lot of wind farms, a lot of oil companies are investing in these right now, especially off the north coast of England, all the way down the Scandinavias, and it is big business. Wind is pretty much indefinite on planet Earth, but they are investing heavily into these sectors. So please don't just think that BP is just an oil company, although I'm contradicting myself, because Tesla, I've been saying, isn't just a car company. Yeah, I'm gonna get some hate on that. but BP does actually make revenue from these areas already, whereas I believe Tesla isn't. Hopefully I saved myself there. Now the second area is refining and manufacturing. Now BP refines and produces petrol, diesel, and they also want to scale up on their low carbon emission fuels, speed up their manufacturing of lubricants and petrochemicals. Now the key one for me on this is their BP Infinite, and I can't believe this isn't bigger news, to be honest, because this could literally change the world, and it would also keep Greta happy.
You have stolen my dreams.
They're working on a project that can recycle unrecyclable plastics, and they're not that far away. So when you see these little plastic water bottles that can't be recycled, BP are working on a technology to help recycle them, and if they can, not only will it be big business, but also it will be a big hype for the company. Now again, that is speculation, but I know they're groundbreakingly close, and if it does come off, it could be a massive win. And the third thing is the delivery, obviously delivering fuels to petrol stations, etc, but also they're investing heavily into electrical vehicle charging stations. They do see that EV is the future. I've always said that as well, and they're investing heavily into that market to try and help capitalize from when they have the revenue lost from petrol and diesel stations, that they will have the new EV charging stations. So they are planning on that in the future. And in fact, they've already got a few operational, I believe. They also want to increase on the petrochemical clothing and building materials. I'm assuming that means the plastic tubes that go underground for plumbing, etc. I know they're heavily in the manufacturing process of that as well. And another big one is providing electrical power to the electricity grid. And that is again from solar farms, wind farms, etc. So you can see that BP and Shell and these Exxons and these big oil companies, they've known oil is going to run out one day. And the only way for them to survive their future is to invest into renewables. And they've been doing it for decades. Like I said, literal decades. So don't think that it's just oil, because these companies are literally generating revenue from elsewhere. Now, if we go on to Tradingview and look at the chart, we can see that BP used to be priced before COVID around about £5 a share, and the current price is about half that, around about $2.50. So 100% move right off the bat, easy money. Well, not necessarily. There's no such thing as easy money. It's gonna be a bumpy ride. Let me tell you, it's going to be a bumpy ride in all oil stocks. If we go on to simply Wall Street, we see that the average value undervaluation is 30%, which is not that bad. It's not that good either. I typically like stocks to have a lot more. And because BP are unprofitable in the last quarter, it is a big no-no on the PEG and PE usually. And usually that is a big red flag for me. But because I genuinely believe that BP will go up one day, and so will oil prices when the world starts turning, then it's only right for me to sort of discontinue that thesis on PEG and PE. Now, I know it's contradicting, but there's always exceptions. Now, another reason why I sort of like them is their assets and liabilities. Now, BP's assets, short-term and long-term, massively outweigh their liabilities. These oil companies, again, they're so clever that they just store cash, physical cash. They keep it under the mattress. No, they don't keep it under the mattress, but they have a lot of cash on account in both long and short term. In short term, they have 73 billion in assets on hand, and they have 57 billion short term in liabilities, 189 billion long term in assets, and 123 billion in liabilities. So that's quite good. They have a lot of spare cash kicking around, etc. Now, they are still paying a dividend, which in this world is quite nice to have, because all companies pretty much slashed their dividends during COVID. Now, they did slash it by half. It's around about $5.25 or something like that per share. So 50% slash in dividend is a kick in the nuts, but the fact that they're still offering dividend is a big benefit in my opinion, and they're trying to show loyalty to their investors, which is a very solid thing for investors invest in this company, and it's helping keep people invested in BP long term, and hasn't caused hardly any selling as well from insiders. So insider selling is literally flat. It is not worth mentioning or unmentioning because no one's buying also. So it's not really a buy or a sell signal, it's sort of a hold signal for me. Now, the main reason why I was really interested in BP in the spring and summer was COVID. I knew that this company was going to get hit hard, especially with cars not moving. Even the plastic industry is taking a hit. Everything is sort of on its arse in the world. And I think that the only way is up in the next couple of years when the world starts turning again. Flights, cars, plastics, renewables, all of this will naturally go up. The market should naturally go up. We may hit a recession in the meantime, but long-term BP should do quite well. And in the meantime, they're gonna pay me a nice little dividend. I'm happy with that. Thank you very much, sir. But going back in June, they promoted one of their own, Bernard Looney. And just because he's a Looney on his surname doesn't mean he's a lunatic. This guy's got a solid track record, and I think he can steer the BP ship back to heavy profitability. And again, when the world reopens with this guy's sort of modern looking vision, I think that this company can do massively well long term, not just with petrol, but also in renewables and EV, etc., etc. Especially if BP Infinite takes off, because I do think that will, on its own, if that takes off, I think that could double the stock price. I'm not joking, I think that's how big plastic recycling will be worldwide, especially with the media hype. So all in all, what I want you to take away from this is don't buy BP, don't sell it, make your own mind up. I am invested in it in full transparency. I just wanted to share with you another STI on a stock that you should look at. Now, again, I've done these on Tesla, NIO, etc. and co, but BP for me is one of my favorite stocks, and I am looking to add every 5% this stock goes down. Now, I have literally got probably 20% of my full potential size in this company already, so I am expecting a bumpy ride down. That said, always do your own due diligence and be expected to be in any trade for a long time if your fundamentals and plan is right. So what do you think? Is BP a buy? Is it a sell? Is oil dead? Is Elon Musk gonna become the next president of the US? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Please do feed a baby by smashing that like button, subscribing and turning on the bell, and check out these 2 videos and let me know what STI you want to have next. Peace.